The next topic is theories of first language acquisition. Before we discuss the theories of first language acquisition, let's see what do we mean by first language. First language is defined as the primary language and not necessarily the mother tongue, but the language that speaker acquires as the first language and continues to use it on constant basis. Now, according to Lenenberg, there is a period which is called critical period, during which, and that also starts from, let's say, age 2 to the age of puberty. Now that's, according to Lenenberg, is the period during which a child or a speaker, when he or she acquires that language in terms of picking up that language as the first language and continues to use it, that becomes his or her first language. Number of theories have been there in this particular area, which is psycholinguistics, second language acquisition, who have dealt with first language acquisition. Now we have the important study conducted by Jean Piaget, who proposed the cognitive theory as an answer to the study of looking at language learning ability. And according to that, the cognitive theory by Jean Piaget, language is the subordinate of the cognitive processes. After that, we have Skinner's behaviorist approach, which says that the learning development can be seen as a way of, or you can see something by means of environmental influence. So the environment has a very crucial role to play in terms of its development. Then after that, we have Noam Chomsky's famous hypothesis, which is the hypothesis of innateness, that a child is born with the innate ability to acquire a language. And then we have Lenenberg's critical period hypothesis, which talks about a particular, or which gives a particular time frame during which a child picks up or develops a language, followed by Stephen Krashen's 5 hypotheses with regard to language acquisition. The first hypothesis is the acquisition and learning hypothesis. Then you have monitor model hypothesis, input hypothesis, the effective filter hypothesis, and so on. This also deals with the not only that, but also refers to the natural order hypothesis, which is basically the 5th hypothesis. So Krashen proposed 5 hypotheses with regard to the understanding of first or second language. Now we will look at all these and we will see that how they are different. Now all these theories have sort of paved a way for people and researchers to look at how mind works in the process of language acquisition and learning. And all these theories are distinct from each other in addressing this crucial issue. Language acquisition, which according to them are the process by which humans acquire the capacity to perceive and comprehend language. At one pole, or you can say at one side of the study, there are scholars who claim that language acquisition production is a learned behavior, and this comes from the behaviorism or the behaviorist school of thought. And at the other pole, you have people or scholars who believe that it is a result of innateness or the innate hypothesis, which comes from a school of nativists or cognitivists who believe that, and you can see that Skinner is the important name in the area of behaviorism and Noam Chomsky in the domain of innate ability. So let's discuss these theories and see how these people or how these theories are different from each other. First and foremost, we have the behaviorist theory by Skinner. And we see that according to him, learning can be seen as a behavior produced by learner's response to stimuli which can be reinforced with positive or negative feedback. So behaviorist theory is the theory which shows, and B.F. Skinner is the behaviorist who shows that learning is a process of producing or developing a language through stimulus response process, that you see a stimuli and then you respond to it, and your positive or negative feedback determines its development. If your reaction or your response to stimuli is reinforced positively, it gets accepted. If it is reinforced through negative feedback, then the individual continues to practice, continues to repeat it until and unless the positive reinforcement is done. So the reinforcement is crucial in the area of learning development. Then the innatist theory by Noam Chomsky is that children are born with language acquisition device, which is LAD, and this encodes the major principles of language and its grammatical structure into child's brain. Universal grammar is the system of principles, conditions, and rules that are elements of properties of all human languages. So the concept of universal grammar is that child is born with this language acquisition device which has all the language rules present in that, and they just need to present in the forms of expressions, in the form of sentences, after acquiring or after being capable of using these grammatical rules. So universal grammar is present at the time of the birth. Then we have cognitive theory by Piaget, as I said, and it advocates cognitive development. Cognitive development, and which is seen as a progressive reorganization of mental processes resulting from biological maturation and environmental experience. So it believes that you do have the language or grammar present there, but you cannot ignore the environmental experiences which actually shape one's learning or one's language abilities. Innateness in isolation is not supported by the cognitive theory. So the two poles in the explanation of language acquisition have been discussed, claiming that language is a learned behavior. On the other hand, it is something which has to do with the innate ability.